Welcome to the Northwest Provincial Government Podcast. We inspire and encourage our communities through personally inspiring stories of our leaders in government and game changers in our communities. Enjoy this episode.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Northwest Provincial Government Podcast. My name is Lemogang Pule and today we are in conversation with the MEC for Education in the province, MEC Viola Ntsetsao Motsumi. MEC, re go amogetse.
You are the first person actually to pronounce my name correctly. Ntsetsao.
That emphasis at the end.
No, thank you very much, Lemogang.
All right, MEC. Let's before we get into the serious things, let's just talk about the transition from the 6th administration into the 7th. How does that feel?
I'm one of the luckiest MECs ever. Remember, towards the end of the 6th administration, I was appointed as the Deputy Speaker of the Legislature. Then towards the end of the 6th administration in 2023, then I was redeployed as the MEC of the Department of Education in the Northwest Province. You would imagine, the last year before the end of the 6th administration. Now we are in the 7th administration. So it means that I've done some impact in the department. Hence, the party that deployed me saw it fit that I must go back to the very same department. If you can do your own analysis regarding all the department, all the MECs were reshuffled. It was only me who was not reshuffled, who was retained actually in the Department of Education. So it has given me an opportunity to continue where I finished in the last administration, even though it is not easy. When you talk of the Department of Education, you are talking about one of the biggest departments ever. Not just biggest department, by the way, but having its own difficulties and challenges. So it's an honor for me because I've been given an opportunity to continue to implement all the pronouncements that were done in the 6th administration. So I consider myself luckiest, but I'm one person who believes that if you are given an opportunity, make sure that you capitalize in that particular opportunity because we don't have time to waste. So I'm really humbled.
Interesting. MEC, let's just start off by doing a reflection on your background. Where were you born? How was your upbringing? And just some of those experiences in general that you can think of about your upbringing and childhood.
What I can confirm to you is that Ntsetsao or Viola Motsumi, it's a village girl, cultured for that particular matter. I was born and bred in Madiba Makhabana. It's a village that's 30 kilometers away from the CBD, Mahikeng. That's where I was born. My father was a principal. My mother was a teacher at one particular point. Then I started my schooling in Start Primary School in Mafikeng. And then I completed my matric in Mabato High School in Mafikeng. Then from there, I wanted to be a doctor. I was admitted in Durban Westville. By then it was called Durban Westville in KZN in Durban because I wanted to be a doctor. Then my father, because he was very strict, and remember I'm the only daughter out of 4 sons. So he was very clear to say that there are universities around Mafikeng. So I'm not going there. That is why I was forced to go and register with the University of Northwest in Mahikeng campus, where I completed my Bachelor of Sciences degree. Immediately after that completing, it was very difficult for me to find a job. So I was recruited to be a teacher. I went through PGCE. By the way, I was recruited by my boyfriend by then, who happens to be my husband today. Then I became an educator and I majored in maths and science. I started in Batlong Secondary School in Mafikeng. I'm a product, by the way, of Vunsaleshak. And then immediately I went to Mabato High to teach maths and science. Then from there, I went to NWPG as a project manager for a year. Unfortunately, my contract ibefela. Then I remember I had to spend close to 7 months without having a job. I was unemployed. At one particular point, I was part of the statistics that it's unemployment. But that did not demoralize me as a person. I utilized it as an opportunity because that's where now I started registering for my MBA. And then after that, I was deployed also as a parliamentary liaison officer of the Department of Education in the office ya Gantatele by then. Then after completing 2 minutes, boom, I was part of the MPLs. I was number 20 in the list, and our list Katilemo 21, you would imagine. And then from there, I was appointed as the Deputy Speaker of the Provincial Legislature. Like I've already alluded to, then immediately towards the end of the 6th administration, the party that am deploying saw it fit that I must be appointed as the MEC of the Department of Education. Then the 7th administration also, I was one of the luckiest. I was redeployed also by the party that that is deployed me, and here I am today also. I'm having my second term. I don't know whether to say it's a second term or not, because remember, I was appointed towards the end of the 6th administration. So I believe that is a new term. Today I'm here as the MEC of the Department of Education in the Northwest Province. That's where I come from.
All right, MEC, briefly take us through how your political career started and who played a significant role in influencing you to take that decision.
Yeah, my dad, my father, Moses Mutlamedi Jabanyane. He's a former chairperson. Allow me not to mention the political parties here. He's a former chairperson of one political party in Ngakamudiri Molema. When I was doing my grade 10, my dad used to complain to say that, there is no life without politics. We are being run by politicians. So as much as I'm focusing mainly on studies and so on, but it is very important for me also to participate in politics, because that's where one is able to voice out her voice there and be the voice of the voiceless. That is where it started. Then he recruited me. Then I started now participating in the politics of the Northwest. At one particular point, I am the former provincial treasurer of the ANC Youth League in the Northwest Province. So that's where I started. The person who motivated me and encouraged me to participate is my dad. But not generally, I was not a politician. I was that Tom girl or tomboy who used to play soccer. Or each and every after class year maths and science, after preparing myself for a lab, I would go to the soccer fields and play soccer in the University of Northwest. That is Viola for you.
Now, MEC, the sector of education has played a significant role in the person that you have now become. And I could also pick up a sense that you are passionate, about empowering young women who also come from the same background as you. Talk to us about that, and just, how 30 years into democracy, women can now experience a different reality from what many could not have imagined.
Let us agree that it boils back to politics. Let us agree that, for example, the Constitution of the African National Congress is very clear in terms of gender equity. Within these 30 years of democracy, one would confirm to say that actually it has done much in making sure that they balance gender generally in politics, not only in politics, generally in government, especially in these particular key positions. Who would have known that for this 7th administration, you go to your provincial legislature. Now in terms of people who are presiding over the legislature, they are dominated by women. Your speaker is a woman, your chair of chairs is a woman, your chief whip is a woman. So indeed, one would confirm that we have done much in terms of doing justice to that. But one must confirm that more still needs to be done, because you look to, if you zoom in our different departments, if you look at our senior management, we are still lagging behind in terms of making sure that we reach that particular target where most of women are actually occupying strategic key positions. Then you'd ask yourself, how did we arrive here? Whereas we do have MECs who happens to be female MECs. So that's where we have to start and do introspection, including myself. I'm not isolating myself from the challenges that we are confronted with, to say that now it is high time of making sure that when it comes to these strategic positions, we give those particular women with capacity, obviously, an opportunity also to occupy those particular position. But also introspection needs to be done as women generally. What are we doing about this issue of gender equity in our government? Do we love each other? Or we are one of the people who drag each other down instead of making sure that we support each other? Look at the positions in terms of the African National Congress. By the way, I'm the only woman occupying a deputy provincial secretary in the top 5. The question is, but when you go to conferences, the delegates that are dominating there, remember the policy, the constitution is very clear to say that when it comes to delegates, it must be 50-50. So, Pasati Bagai, when it comes to conferences, in making sure that they advance names, Basadi, who occupy this particular positions that are very strategic. So I think we have to start now to establish forums where Ronarele Basadi under one roof, we do introspection and we identify actually what might be the factors that contribute to us not making sure that we balance gender when it comes to senior management positions. Not only that, even politically in the strategic position, where now we can have more than 3 women occupying strategic position at the level of the officials of the ANC. That's where we have to start. But other than that, appreciation and acknowledgement needs to be done. As government, we have tried our level best. We have done a lot in making sure that we close that particular gap of gender equity.
Now, MEC, with your continuation from the 6th administration and into the 7th one, I know you briefly touched on this one as well. You've been entrusted with this responsibility of once again leading the Department of Education. To you as a person, what does that kind of responsibility mean?
It means a lot. You look at the department, like I've already alluded to, is that it's one of the complex departments ever compared to other departments. The core mandate is one. Our core mandate as the Department of Education is to deliver quality education to our learners. Simple. But we are forced also to implement other core mandates. I'm forced actually as the MEC of making sure that all our schools are in good conditions in terms of infrastructure. Because for you to have a conducive environment of learning and teaching, or teaching and learning, it means that those particular learners and also the teachers, the infrastructure is in good conditions. Look what is happening currently in the department. We are forced to implement even a core mandate that deals with issue of scholar transport, even though the function does not belong to the Department of Education. But we know that those particular learners, every day they must reach their respective schools. How? Because of the distance. We are forced in making sure that we provide them with the scholar transport. It is not only that. Look at the issues of NSNP. Our learners, they are from disadvantaged backgrounds. As the Department of Education, as much as I'm being delegated of making sure that I deliver quality education to these particular learners, I must also be considerate and consider other factors where now those particular learners, most of them in the past, we have seen a high rate of dropouts. Why? Because of the backgrounds. Because they don't have food. A learner a concentrate mo sekolong. I'm forced as the MEC of making sure that I provide the very same learners with food mo sekolong. So those are the issues one is confronted with as the MEC, and she must make sure that she implements them. The issue of curriculum remains our core mandate. We have to balance in making sure that all the factors that I've mentioned also, they are part of the department so that we are able to deliver quality education, we are able to deliver quality curriculum. Look at what is happening currently in our schools. The issue of safety. Mo baneng ba rona, also mo barutabaneng ba rona. Our teachers are no longer safe. The same applies to our learners are no longer safe. As much as I'm delegated to implement one mandate, but I'm also forced in making sure that there's safety in our schools where our learners, even the parents, banna ba itumetse to say that bana le tshepo ya gore bana ba bone ba tlile go bua ba tshela. The same applies to educators. Their families, I'm going to ensure, I'm going to make sure there is safety. The families that want to any incidents, issues, the violence and so on. So those are one of the major responsibilities that one has to confront. But as one being appointed, and I've taken an oath, and when I was appointed, I never said, no, I'm not available. I said I'm available. By just confirming that I'm available, it means that I was actually declaring to say that as the MEC, I'm going to try my level best in making sure that I implement all the core mandate of the Department of Education.
What kind of leader are you, MEC? How would you describe your leadership style?
What a difficult question. Because we believe there must be the next person, or she or he will be able to describe a person. But the way keep on ankating, I'm a humble person. There's no dispute about it. But I'm one person who believes in accountability. When it comes to accountability in the Department of Education, I don't compromise. Because the most important thing is to deliver services to our people. And remember, we were voted into power with expectations. But so I'm a humble person, believes in accountability, at the same time believes in a principle, collectivism. Because I'm just a human being, having my own weaknesses. I'm not perfect. Alone, I can't run that particular department. I need a strong team from the Department of Education. That is why I believe strongly in terms of collectivism. I'm one person who believes in constructive criticism. Because for you to be a better leader, there must be a constructive criticism out there, because I've already indicated, even Mandela once said, he's not a saint. He was not a saint. So Linna, I still maintain that I'm not a saint. That is why when you criticize me constructively, I'm able to do introspection. I'm able to identify my weaknesses in order for me to turn those particular weaknesses to be my strength. Because whether I like it or not, I'm not that 100% perfect. So that's how I can describe myself. I'm one person who believes in open engagements. Engage with me. If there are any issues, engage with me. That is why in my department, I have this policy, open door policy. You don't have to go through my PA to access me. When people had confidence in me, there no was not the PA, no was not my parejo in between. It was me, it was my image. That is why I believe in that particular policy. I'm able now to be closer to my constituencies, because consistently so, those particular engagements, and they know they don't have to go through the director in the office of the MEC. They don't have to go through the PA to the MEC to access me. So that's where I excel the most. That is Viola Motsumi.
And would you say, MEC, that leadership style that you have embraced has somehow influenced the way that you deal with challenges, and especially when you consider your department and its magnitude and the kind of challenges that it comes with? You've just also made it known that it's not just challenges from within, but from outside as well. How do you deal with criticism in that regard?
One must confirm that actually this leadership skill, it has assisted me a lot in order to overcome most of the challenges. Right? The challenges, but there are those so indeed I managed to resolve them. I've managed to overcome them. Like I said, humble yourself before your people. At all times, be accessible. And I've already indicated, I'm one person who believes in teamwork, collectivism. So there's a difference between a leader and a boss. And most of the politicians, we commit a mistake where we tend to forget the definition of a leadership versus your boss. A boss is that particular person and gives instruction. He or she does not even afford anybody an opportunity for their engagement or for their advice, and she or he accept this a constructive criticism. That is why that particular person, in most instances, they don't last in these particular positions. So I can confirm that through this particular skill, where I'm working, I'm just the MEC because of the position, but I belong to team education. That is why before any decisions are being taken by me as an executive authority, I engage with my team. They are given an opportunity also to input. Where I'm wrong, because they are free around me, because I'm not a boss, I'm a leader. I'm forming part of the team. They are comfortable around me. They are comfortable of advising me. If I'm wrong, they are also comfortable of approaching me to say that, MEC, the decision that you have taken, actually it will haunt us in future. Rather handle this particular matter this way. That is what we call teamwork. And when it comes to issues, accountability, Lenna as the MEC, I must be part of the accountability. I'm one person that when we fail as a team. I'm not isolating myself from a team whereby forever consistently so. Nna ke batla dikarabo mo ba ke berekang le bone, but ke palelwa ke go fa ba ke berekang le bone dikarabo. And part of working as a team, it is very important because you are sharing ideas. Le khona go complementana, because I've already indicated I've got my own weaknesses. So working as a team, they are able to complement me in order of making sure that we implement our mandate without a failing actually. Challenges will forever be there. And I'm one person who believes that as a person, I know that I cannot change the Department of Education. But most importantly, what I believe that I can make a difference in the Department of Education. And the difference in the Department of Education, they can only be possible if we are working hand in hand as a team education. So now it worked for me. I'm playful. I spend most of my time playing rather than being serious. But when it comes to work and when it comes to accountability, that's where I don't compromise. And I'm one person, I might have my weaknesses, but I'm very decisive. Whether unpopular decision or whatsoever, I'll take it, Lewang. Whether I like you, whether I consider you as one of my favorite. But when it comes to me to take a decision regarding when maybe usadira something, I don't even I make sure that I take that particular decision because I believe mo issue consistency, and I believe mo issue I must unify my team, because when you start to take sides, that's where you are going to divide the team and the potential to be a strong team.
In the whole of South Africa, who would you say are your role models? You've mentioned the role that your father has played in your life, and a very significant one at that. But what other names are there of people that you would look up to?
Still my parents. And I've got reasons why I am consistent in terms of that. They are my role models. I believe that I am what I am today because of their contributions. Not only their contributions, their backgrounds actually inspired me a lot. My father, Obonetumo, a family having 12 siblings. And Obonetumo family, he was born in the poor of the poorest for that particular matter. He's a firstborn. He had to take responsibility of making sure that he assists his siblings because his parents did not have capacity actually go ka godisa the 12 siblings. Regardless where he comes from, I remember at one particular point whereby Hassan Sanaloko a middle school, he used to go to school without having shoes. He used to go to school without having food. He used to stay alone. Most of them, more the grandmother. By the way, I was named after the grandmother. So you would imagine the situation that he was confronted with at a very early stage or at a very early age. But he never compromised. He never I give up. He never said, now because of the background that I find myself, moyone, therefore no, he conquered. Immediately going to high school. High school, he never said no, or whatsoever. At one particular point, he was bullied because of the way because the uniform in Esnabutsito. Immediately high school, he never said, there are no bursaries, my parents don't have money to take me to university or to college. What's a really part-time job, momolopo task here, where he was doing part-time jobs, where he was able to college. That is why finally, reach his goals and he became the principal. The same applies to my mother. She's the last born from the poor of the poorest. At one particular point, she had to relocate from Madibe to Gauteng, and by then, it was during the 1976 uprising. He used to go to Mapetla secondary school to study at night, regardless of the situation that he was finding herself in. But regardless, she conquered because she knew what she wanted. And what I've learned from their background and where they come from, as a person, when you instrument you determine in future. Nobody can determine your future. Look where they come from. Look where they are today. Look what is expected from her and why other than anything else. So I remain resolute. My dad and my mom will remain my role models.
Any books that you have read, MEC, or currently are reading that have also contributed to shaping the individual that you have become?
There is a book by the name of Finding Me. The author is Viola Davis. The book is so inspiring. I would also recommend you to read that particular book. Because if you go through the content there, the content are very clear to say that Viola Davis hane abonwa when she was born. Actually, in most of botshelo ba gagwe, she was running from her past. And the fact of the matter, whether you like it or not, you cannot run from your past. So when you go through that particular book, it's sort of like a love letter. It's sort of like uruta the self-love, uruta how to accept the situations, uruta how to accept our past. Because as a person, where you have to start from your past. Because the very same past are the very same past that are supposed to build you. Regardless of your mistake, maybe from your past. Your past are not that good than others. You've got that cloud or whatsoever. But you have to accept those are your past and you have to learn from those particular past for you to be a better person in future. So this is one of the books that I'm currently reading, but I've got a weakness. I'm obsessed about buying books. I've got a lot of books, but in terms of reading until the end, it becomes a problem in most of the time. But this one, at least, it shows me so many things in general like botshelo. We are in a world there is a lot of competition where in most instances you are forcing yourself to be accepted in the very same that environment. But you can't force forever. You are you. What you want, you have to ask yourself what you want. You can't forever want to impress everybody. Yes, there are those who are going to be impressed by you, but unfortunately, like I've already indicated, competition, there will be those that are not even happy about you. So why forcing yourself to those particular person? It's your identity. Know what you want. That is the most important thing, and move forward. Yeah.
Now, MEC, you wear different hats, a leader in society. How do you balance, that work-life pressure that comes with those kind of responsibilities?
Let me tell you my recipe, the reason why I'm surviving. Because I'm able to balance my life, even though I'm not 100%. But I'm doing it, the reason why I'm able to balance, it is because of my understanding, loving husband. If you are having a partner who understands you, if you are having a partner who loves you, if you are having a partner, wa go prioritize in whatever I'm telling you, you are going to be able to maneuver. Your life is going to be easy, even though it's not that easy, because I'm also a wife. I'm also a mother. You would imagine that I spent most of my time away from home. What is happening to those particular children? But how can you'd think I'm a housewife. You'd think I'm forever having lunch, having breakfast with my kids and family, because of that strong person behind my success, who happens to be my husband. Very understanding, very supportive, and one person that would do anything for me as a wife. At the same time, grooming me and nurturing me. Emotionally drained. I know that there is a pillar of my strength at home. I rather even drive at night because I know I'll find that particular person waiting for me just to tell me to say everything is well, everything is going to be fine. Fight. Even though sometimes at that particular point where you want to give up, the very same person will come to say that, remember, when you give up, there are so many people who are following you. There are so many people who are inspired by you. There are so many people, even when they are drained emotionally, when they see you, they see themselves. They've got this belief that one day you are going to change their lives. So don't be selfish, Viola. Just wake up, go back and start a fresh day, and make sure that whatever that happened, if there were mistakes that you committed, go back to the drawing board and rectify those particular mistakes, because at the end, you are just a human being. So that is why I'm surviving. That is why I'm glowing, even now, because of the support that I'm getting from my husband.
Now, MEC, you've recently tabled the very first budget speech for this administration in your department. Briefly take us through some of those highlights and plans which you have for the current financial year.
First thing, I'm very clear that as the Department of Education in the Northwest, we must start by establishing a teacher development institute, because that particular institute will assist us as the department in improving in terms of the results and in improving in terms of quality of the education that we are delivering to our kids. Without teachers, we are nothing. Remember, they are the ones who are delivering curriculum on our behalf. So before you go to the learners, start with those who are implementers. Capacitate them. So having that particular institute, it will definitely assist us. Last, I did for this budget speech, I did mention the issue of construction of Lorotloeng primary school in Tlakhameng, and also your Tlotlang Tuto. These are two schools that were implemented by Public Works 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, where they were using a method of alternate methods. And the project failed dismally. As I'm speaking to you, community members are still waiting for the 2 schools because they are experiencing overcrowding. Not only overcrowding, those particular learners are forced to walk long distances to reach other schools. So those are one of the commitments that I've made. School for autism. We don't have school for autism in the Northwest. We have not been paying attention to learners with autism. That is why most of the time you'll find them loitering around, not knowing what does the future holds for them. Those who've got money, they take their keys to Gauteng, as if we don't have a province called Northwest. That is why I saw it fit that we must start now to build school for autism. My budget speech actually is dominated by construction of schools, because the more the schools, because the beauty about democracy compared to before, that is why we are seeing now we are having a large number of learners. We're experiencing overcrowding. We must see it as a positive side. It means that we are no longer encountering challenges where most of our learners are dropping out from schools. It means that now, especially Black learners, have started developing interest in terms of education. The more learners, the better future for them. So it means that as the department, as government, at least we have made strides when it comes to education to our learners. It is not only that. ECDs, early child development. I'm very clear to say that that's where we have to start focus mainly more on. Because without having a proper foundation, we'll forever struggle when it comes to the results of the grade 12s. So more focus will be based more the ECDs, where now more ECDs across the province will be renovated. And already we do have our ECD practitioners by training as the Department of Education, because we don't have to compromise quality, even at the level of the ECDs. There's a Bella bill that the president has just signed. It's no longer a bill now, it's a law.
It's a law.
You would imagine. It means that it's compulsory now. The grade Rs, those who qualifies to be in grade R, they must be in grade R. So that is why my focus will be mostly in this thing, the foundation phase, so that we build a better a foundation, so that when they reach secondary school, already they are being nurtured properly at that particular level. So those are one of the issues that I've mentioned. I've also emphasized on the issue of safety in our schools. As much as we don't have much budget for us hiring security guards in each and every school. Remember, we are having 1,345 schools across the province. You would imagine how the budget that we need actually to hire securities in our different schools. But what I have pronounced is that for now, each and every school must have a security fence at least, so that at least we are sure that during school hours, our learners and also our teachers are safe in our schools. So those are one of the pronouncements that I've made for this budget speech or for this academic year.
And speaking about, the budget allocation, education being the one of the biggest departments in the province, has quite a significant allocation in terms of the budget. But what are your views about, the patterns of spending or expenditure that you have observed so far?
One must indicate that as the department, we are allocated 21 billion. But people must start to understand now, when it comes to education, a chunk of our budget goes to salaries. It's not like we are having that 21 billion that will afford us an opportunity to build schools left, right, and center. But going back to spending, so far we are encountering a serious challenge because we are experiencing budget cuts because of this cost containment. That is why we are experiencing a challenge where we are unable to continue to appoint more educators, more principals, and administratively so we are unable at the level of corporate also to appoint officials because of the budget cuts. But as the MEC have taken a decision that we must prioritize school-based posts first before anything else, because without those particular school-based posts, there is no way that we'll be able to reach our target, which is 86 and 90% pass rate for this academic year. And I must also indicate that before I became the MEC, remember the Department of Education is one of the departments that was trending negatively by that particular matter to say that they are underspending in terms of the infrastructure conditional grant. I'm happy to announce that since this, the last administration, the last year of the administration and this year, at least we've been compliant. We are actually spending accordingly. There are no threats to say Hore Northwest will be one of the provinces where the Department of Education, Treasury, ya go tsaya tšhelete back because of us not spending accordingly. So I'm happy about spending. I'm just worried about this issue of compensation of employees because we have reached a ceiling now whereby we are unable to continue in terms of the recruitment. But it's something that we have reported and presented before. The minister is aware, and what we are going to do, even provincial treasury, they are aware about our challenges and they are trying their level best of making sure that they assist us. Because remember, education belongs to social cluster. You would imagine if we are unable to appoint school teachers and principals, it means that the system will collapse and we cannot afford that. It means that as a department, we are going to fail dismally in terms of implementing our core mandate, which is to deliver quality education to our learners. So that's where we are in terms of spending. I remember at one particular point, there was a situation that was very embarrassing for that particular matter. Immediately after being appointed, I remember provincial government of the Northwest they underspent by 1.6 billion. And when you calculate that 1.6 billion, Rona as the Department of Education, we contributed 1.1 billion in the sixth administration before I became the MEC. So that is why I'm saying I'm happy so far about the spending. And the reason why we are spending accordingly is because of the systems are in place now. I've established different committees where I'm able to do oversight, monitoring over them in making sure that they are compliant in terms of spending. So that is why I'm not worried. Come next year, there's not going to be a threat whereby there are possibilities that Treasury will take money from the Department of Education. And by spending, it means that it equates to service delivery. It means that we are doing much when it comes to service delivery. So I'm happy so far.
Now, MEC, there was a time when you were crisscrossing the province, turning the sword for construction of new schools, officially opening the newly built and refurbished ones. How would you describe the status in general of school infrastructure in the Northwest?
One must indicate that we have made an impact. You know, there's this thing about the Northwest where it's known for the very first time in history, where now the image of the Northwest, it has been restored. Based on the shortening. By shortening, it means that you are introducing the contractor to the community to say that now we are ready to start with the building of that particular school. Handing over of schools, it says to the community that we have promised you that we are going to build you a school. Now we are handing over officially schools to the community in making sure that our children now start to utilize those particular buildings. So it's a milestone on our side. It has made a serious impact, even though there's still much to be done, because I've also indicated that we are having more learners ever. And that is why still we need to build more schools. And considering our background and history where we come from, the Northwest specifically, most of our schools, I would say 70% of our schools, there are those old schools by then before democracy. So meaning that those particular schools also, we must make sure that so as much as there was that particular exercise, at least vibes, It thusitse also in terms of overcrowding. It thusitse also on this particular issue of scholar transport, because that's where we are experiencing challenges. So re dirile some progress, but one must admit, I do have my conditional assessment report. You go to that particular conditional assessment report, there are still more schools that needs to be built. That is why all of a sudden now even our communities, they are starting now to come to the office of the Premier. They are starting now to come to the office of the MEC, requesting the MEC to say that le rona we deserve dikolo tse eleng gore le busy la di aga across the province.
The matric performance for the class of 2023 was welcomed and praised, because obviously the improvement from position 5 to position 4 nationally. And I know, MEC, this is something that you are very decisive about as well. What kind of strategies have been put in place to improve yet again the performance of class of 2024?
When I came in the Department of Education, I've realized that there was a serious discrimination where the Department of Education came up with some strategies in terms of improving the results. But at the same time, I'm saying discrimination in a way that we are having camps where learners are camping. We used to have camps where there were some learners who were not allowed to be part of the camps. Why? Because for you to be part of the camp, you have to pay. So I started by pronouncing to say that not this time. Those particular learners cannot be discriminated. Those particular learners cannot be punished by us as the Department of Education because of their background. All of us, we know that they don't have control over their background. So why discriminating that particular person because khana chelete ya camp? And what are you solving? You are leaving a child behind. At the same time, you are saying you are trying to improve the results. There is no way. That is why I resolved to say that each and every child must be allowed, must participate in these camps. I did indicate, regardless whether independent school, private schools, or public ordinary school, where there are camps, all learners must be accommodated in those particular camps. That is why at the beginning of this year, because also Lena must come up with the solution, because the reason why they've taken that particular decision is because of lack of funds. That is why this year, at the beginning of this year, I had my first lekgotla, where we were dealing specifically with curriculum and infrastructure. And the objective behind that particular lekgotla was actually to mobilize resources for curriculum and also for infrastructure. And I must indicate that we are doing good in terms of that. Relevant stakeholders now are coming on board. They are very clear. They want to collaborate with the Department of Education in making sure that we deliver. We deliver our mandate without compromising quality education to our learners. One must give a practical example. In Bujanala, there is already a mine that committed to build 2 schools. And I had a progressive meeting with them. They are very clear to say that they are going to assist us in terms of building those particular schools. It's not only that, even during camps, mines and other stakeholders consistently so, they've been assisting us in terms of food for our learners to get food, those particular challenges. It is not only that, we have collaborated with the University of Northwest, where they are giving our teachers and our learners psycho-social support. We know that during this particular exams or towards the exams, these particular learners are going to start now to panic. That is why now we saw it fit that we must collaborate with the university to come in and make sure that they give these particular learners all the necessary support. Not only learners, our teachers emotionally, mentally, they are drained. They also need that kind of support. So they've identified 10 schools across Ngaka Mulema. It's just a pilot project. They've identified 10 schools where they are giving those particular teachers together with learners that psycho-social support. It is not only that. There are many stakeholders who have provided us with some extra study guides and whatsoever to our schools. There's one mine, for example, that they've committed to say that in Bojanala they have identified some schools where they are going to assist us in installation of Wi-Fi. What they want from us, how are we going to sustain that particular Wi-Fi after installation? So those are the kind of support that we are getting. We are having our online classes where we know that each and every learner, we manage to provide them with the tablets together with the SIM cards there, where they are able to access previous question papers, where they are able to access your online classes through that particular tablet. Radio stations, we are collaborating with them. We have a landline whereby a learner at any given point, if maybe she or he is struggling with mathematics, she is able to call, and then somebody, a teacher, who will be able to assist her in making sure that they resolve that particular problem, MEC and so on. So those are the things that we are doing as the Department of Education in making sure that we close gaps.
And MEC, perhaps also talk to us about, the role that you have played in ensuring that stakeholders and the department have that working relationship that is able to fill the gaps and make a proper impact.
Number one, that's what I've already alluded to, that Lekgotla, it has actually assisted me and the department, not me, I'm not the department a lot of strengthening the relations between us and those particular stakeholders. And one can also make an example. Before the end of the sixth administration, no, actually it is this administration, I convened SGB interaction between the SGB members together with me as the executive authority, where we were able to iron out so many issues. Because when you talk of school governing body, you are talking about a component that is supposed to govern our schools. And in most instances, we are encountering challenges in terms of the relations between the SGBs and the principals and teachers. And the reason and the objective behind us as a sector having the SGBs was to bring the parents closer to us, to start now participating in the affairs of their children. So I've realized that there is a serious disjuncture between our SGBs and our principals. There is a serious problem in terms of role clarification, in terms of the SGBs versus your principals. That is why they are forever fighting. And when you do your own analysis, what exactly are they fighting for? In most instances, I would say 99.9%, they are fighting because of the finances, meaning that we have lost a plot. Instead of them focusing mainly on the curriculum part of it, I'm not disputing that it is also their responsibility to administer the finances of the schools. But it seems like they're too much obsessed about the finances. They're too much obsessed about who get the project in the schools, rather than focusing mainly on the core mandate of making sure that the delivery of curriculum in our schools is being delivered without any disruptions. So I've managed to have that particular engagement meeting with them. We've managed to make sure that where there were gaps, we close those particular gaps. Where there were confusions, we clarify those particular confusions. That is why now I'm focusing mainly on capacitating them, because that is the most important thing. They have to understand their roles and responsibilities as the school's governing board. Without school's governing board, Bona, we can have proper plans, we can have last pushes or whatsoever, but without having that particular relations, as the department will never reach our mandate. So that's the strategies that I've used in order to bring them closer to the department and to show them that we are one. We are a collective and we need each other, because these children are our children. So we have to work together in making sure that we reach our our target.
Now, corruption is a widespread challenge in society, MEC, including in government departments and other institutions. As a leader, what do you think can be done to curb that challenge?
Number one, the most important thing, our whistleblowers are not protected by us as government. That is why in most instances, we cry, you do have a case, but you can't even trace for that particular case if it is a guy. Because whistleblowers out there are being intimidated. Whistleblowers out there are being bought by those who are in the wrong. So if we can start there as government, I can bet with my life we'll be able to register progress in making sure that we deal with this corruption. The other issue that I've realized as government, as our weakness, there is no element of agency in government. There is this particular issue of corruption, there is this particular case, but there is no that element of agency where we are dealing with that particular case as a matter of agency. And that's where we are still lacking. And it seems like we are apologetic about dealing with crime. It seems like there are so inconsistencies in most cases. It depends gore ke mang. Haile Viola, then we drag our foot in making sure that we deal with that particular case. If it's somebody else, that's where now you see newspapers and blah, 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 blah. An issue of tracing, an issue of monitoring all the cases becomes a problem. That is why we have not registered that progress in terms of dealing with corruption. A practical example can be given. There was an SIU report in the Northwest specifically regarding the issue of COVID-19 PPEs. Where are we in terms of those particular cases? I remember most of our departments were affected. Cases were opened. Where are we? I'm not isolating myself. I'm part of the problem. I'm the MEC of the Department of Education. Aki bele mbek monna. Ki dirileng about those particular cases. Hake tsena aki kgonne go dira follow-ups in making sure that those particular cases did find that closure. Meaning that there are people who are implicated in so many reports of corruption, but they're still loitering around in the Department of Education because there was never been action taken against those particular people. So we have to start now and go back to the drawing board as government if really we want to deal with corruption once and for all. A practical example can be given. I was talking to my colleagues in the Department of Education that at one particular point, I remember I was dragged to an interview where there were some allegations to say that there's one circuit manager who was busy selling posts with evidence being then provided before us. I was asking them, how far are we in terms of processing that particular case? Even now, they are still saying the case is still on. I was very embarrassed. I was very disappointed because this case, it around February, March. And the information, evidence, it was there. Why not dealing with that particular case once and for all? So you send a signal to those who are involved in the similar activities to say that as the Department of Education, we are not going to be apologetic about dealing with those who are corrupt. So we are relaxed. There's no that element of agency that I've spoke about. So that's where we have to start and do introspection. Let's start with the cases that are already there to check progress registered, whether are we registering progress or not. Look at our judicial system. There are so many cases before them. How far are we in completing those particular and finalizing those particular cases? It takes years and years before one would say, now we have reached the end point of this particular case. So until we take ourselves serious as government, that's the only way that will be taken serious by the people who voted us into power.
True indeed. The province has lived up to its commitment of ensuring that the Accelerated Service Delivery Program, Tunta Leroli Reloaded, is also featured in the 7th Administration's Program of Action. Now, MEC, I'm curious to know, how do you think the people of this province should embrace this particular program to ensure that it is successful and that it makes an impact?
Remember, the objective behind Tunta Leroli is very clear, simple and straightforward, is to accelerate service delivery to our people. And it affords our communities an opportunity to interact and also engage with their representatives. Ibafa opportunity ya gore the MEC di ye ko groundung di kgone go ka interacta di kgone go bona gore what are the issues. And then remember, when it comes to Tunta Leroli, where there are challenges, expectation is very clear to say that you deal with the challenge. As the MEC of the Department of Education, you go to one school during Tunta Leroli. In that particular school, you realize that there are some vacancies. Ha gona principal, ha gona HOD, ha gona ma teacher. Expectation is that you must resolve that particular matter as a matter of agency. Because it deals with issues of service delivery. It deals with issues of delivery of curriculum to those particular learners. It means that we are not doing justice to our learners. So actually, really expectation ke gore the community members actually must capitalize. That is part of accountability. That's where now tshwantse ba re dire accountable. That's where tshwantse ba re tse where we must commit. But most importantly, after, because remember, we are having Tunta Leroli across the provinces. The most important thing also that we have to agree on, we have to go back to all the commitments that were done even in the 6th administration to check whether those particular commitments, were they implemented or not. There must be an instrument that is being used by us in order to determine whether this Tunta Leroli is making an impact or not. But where I'm seated, one can confirm that it has done a lot of impact. And it is high time people must take advantage of that, because it's something in other provinces. Mang le mang the relevant MEC amorarikiyo. You are saying you are having challenges. Buali MEC must make sure that we resolve whatever challenges you are confronted with. Absolutely. So it's an opportunity for them. But what I've realized is that our people now, I don't know whether is it because they've lost confidence or they've lost hope, or maybe habaiti their rights. Because when you talk of government also includes our communities. They are part of government. They are the ones who are supposed to hold us accountable. Though in most instances they are not capitalizing on that. That babatlogela opportunity e feta mo matlong a bone. And then but there are those indeed they capitalize. They make sure the issues that they are raising, they are genuine, are issues grounding. So I think what I can give an advice to our community members is that capitalize in this particular program. Definitely it will make a huge difference in many communities. It can only make a difference if all of us, we are participating and we are giving each other support during your issue at Tunta Leroli.
As the MEC of Education, what would you want to have achieved at the end of this administration? So what would make you a happy leader, essentially, at the end of the term?
The system that is intact. When you talk of a system all of us, we do have confidence moyone. I'm saying this because I've realized that Rona, even the officials of the Department of Education, they don't have confidence in their own system and they are part of the system. I'm raising this because you go to the Department of Education, they are learners, they are children. Most of them, they are not in our public ordinary schools. They are in independent private schools. Why? That thing on its own, it exposes us to say that as implementers, as part of the systems, we are not even trusting our own system. So how do we expect others to trust our system? So the legacy e ke batlang go e bona e le teng mo Department of Education is when our system is intact, when everybody ha bua ka the Department of Education in the Northwest, ha bua ka each and every school in the Department of Education in the Northwest, botle ba na le confidence, botle ba kgona go tsaya bana ba bone ba ba isa ko any other school, ba ska ba nna selective. Because when they are starting to be selective, it means that it says something about that particular school. Se ba se lwelang gore bana ba bone ba ye go go sone. So what I want all the schools to deliver quality education. People must be happy about the delivery of our curriculum. Baske ba e doubta at all. You know, I'm being inspired also by the late former MEC Tselapedi. Ha gona so se monate sa gore every time when you are in a meeting planning, every time when you are engaging with the officials of the Department of Education, be ba kgona go dira reference to say that, you know what, MEC, if we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, during ka term ya ga Rre Tselapedi, we used to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the things tse leng gore di kgonne gore thusa in improving in terms of the results. So ke batla gore le nna motlang ke tswile mo Department of Education, there must be people who are able to make reference by my name to say that during era ya ga MEC Ntsetsao or Viola Motsumi, this is how we have been handling issues of the Department of Education. Actually, they assisted us in making sure that we improve in terms of the results. So that's what I want as the MEC. Ke batla gore leina la ka le motlhanki seo le kgone go gola. Hala ga Rre Tselapedi a tlhokafetse, may his soul rest in peace, le kgona go gola. It means that o tlogetse legacy, there was an impact a dirile mo Department of Education. Le nna ke batla go follow di steps sa gagwe gore ka moso le nna ha go tsiwa, there must be something se leng gore one is able to say that we are here because of that particular lady.
Okay, so MEC, we are now moving into a different kind of format.
Okay.
This next segment of our episode, we have asked our social media followers to send questions that they would like you to answer. And so I'm just going to ask our production to assist us in order to facilitate that exercise as we ask those questions, and you will then respond. I have a bowl full of those questions. I think we will take about 5 or 6 depending on what we can do at this point. Let us have the first question.
That sound, yeah.
Okay, I have the first question here. Are you ready, MEC?
Okay.
So this one is from Tembisile Cindy, and it came through our Facebook page, and they say the Bella Bill must start being implemented in early grades. A framework that allows continuity must be implemented. MEC, your thoughts about the Bella Bill?
I'm in agreement 100% with the Bella Bill. And as a sector, we are more than ready for the implementation. And we are very excited because most importantly, the most important thing that our people must understand regarding the law, the Bella, is that it seeks to close gaps where there are gaps because we have identified gaps. A practical example can be given. During my interview, I was very clear to say that my focus, it will be mainly on the issue of foundation phase. Remember, there are learners out there. Then later on, they come and enroll in our respective schools. They don't have that proper foundation. But through this particular Bella Act, now we know automatically that it is a must. It is compulsory. All learners must be in grade R. Most importantly, there's a clause that I like the most that talks to policy language. Remember before, the people who were total control and in charge of the policy language in their respective schools is the SGBs. Now there's a clause that gives us a provision to say that the head of the department, based on the needs, he or she has all the powers of making additions to the policy languages from the SGBs. We are not saying we are taking powers from the SGBs. A practical example, there are schools, in terms of policy language, by measure your Afrikaans and your English. Haba measure ka Afrikaans and English. It means that that particular learner who does not know Afrikaans cannot be enrolled, cannot be accepted in that particular school. Now that particular learner is forced gore a fete sekolo seo a travel a long distance a ye ko another school. So it will give us an opportunity to say that, okay, we can see the numbers are there. What we want to do is to add English and Setswana. By doing that, you are balancing. Then you know that we are going to deal also with issues of overcrowding. Because of now, that barrier. So I'm in agreement with the comment, and I'm assuring our people that definitely will make sure that we implement that Bella without any fail, because it will assist us as a department going forward.
All right. The next question that we have, Sir Larona, and this came through our TikTok page, and they are asking, what is the plan for the Mahikeng local education offices that are not in good working condition?
We had our strategic lekgotla last week in Bojanala, where one of the issues that I've raised as the MEC, I was very clear with the accounting officer, with the acting superintendent general of the Department of Education, to say that most importantly, we have to make sure that we do have our own offices, because before anything else, those officials' expectation is that they must make sure that they deliver on behalf of the department. So how do they deliver under the environment that is not conducive? How do they deliver under the infrastructure really even issue of safety for bone is questionable? It boils back also to issues of schools. So we are dealing with that particular issue. We are also going to engage public works, because when it comes to issues of buildings and infrastructure, all these assets belong to public works. We are going to see how best can they assist us, because it's not only Mahikeng. There are other area offices where the conditions really are not that conducive, where as the Department of Education, we ended up even using hostels that are not being used by schools in order to accommodate our officials. So it's something that was discussed at the level of the Lekgotla. Mine is to check progress registered in making sure that all our offices di na le botsitso, so that how ya mmerekong lo ena bo gona le se go forsang gore you must go to work, o ska wa nna discouraged and demoralized.
Our next question comes from Puluko Tumaiza Mo Mokoto through our Facebook page, and they are asking, what's the MEC's take on St. Mary's School closing?
Really, I was very disappointed when I received a report to say that the school, St. Mary's, was closed. And by the way, the first day of the examinations, but as the department, we managed to resolve that particular matter as a matter of agency. It was reopened later on. But I have learned a lot from this particular issue of St. Mary's, to say that as the department, we have to go back to our memorandum of understanding, because remember, there are some schools that do not belong entirely to the Department of Education. Some, they belongs to the Khosi, some they belongs to churches. So when you go back to the MOUs of those particular schools, Salidi Diriwa, just after 1994, you would imagine. That is why there is that particular gap. That is why the management, St. Mary's, ended up closing a school, because they felt as the department were not coming on board. But we had a meeting with the SGB of St. Mary's, where they were managed to table a report before the district office. As I'm speaking to you, we are dealing with the matter as a matter of agency, because there were issues regarding security guards, where the SGBs were also complaining to say, some security bagata kereke, it's not like bagata skolo and so on. So there were so many issues regarding that particular school, but we are treating it as a matter of agency, because most importantly, these people, they've been assisting us in terms of accommodating our learners. So it can't be correct that by now, the relationship now, breaker, because of some misunderstanding. So we are dealing with those particular issues. We believe that this thing will never repeat itself again, because actually it has put the department into disrepute.
No, thank you very much, MEC, for that response. I think it also, provides an opportunity for those that did not even know the issues of St. Mary's, with some insight. Tumi Matapelo from our Facebook page is asking, as we head towards final exams for matric class of 2024, how has the department worked with the districts, schools, and sponsors to ensure no child is left behind for the Camp Sialala, which some parents find themselves limited to afford paying for their children, and they leave schools late at night, posing safety risks for those who travel back home at night because they don't have thousands to pay for this. Quite a lengthy one, MEC, but I think you did touch on this.
Yeah, I think I've covered that one to say that as a department, we remain committed. No learner will be left behind. We are going to try our level best of making sure that there is no discrimination. No learner will be at home not attending this strategic camping. That is why I've spoke about that Lekgotla in making sure that we mobilize resources. But most importantly, let me capitalize on this particular question also to request, to plea with our parents and communities out there to join hands with the Department of Education. In most instances, there are learners ba bonang gore ga ba kgone at all. But in other instances, there are parents ba bonang gore ba kgona, but they chose not to contribute. If they can assist us in making sure that these camps really didn't an impact, le rona ha gona any incidents whereby now our learners are exposed to danger or whatsoever. And re ba kopa to say that during these particular camps, they must come, but observe. They must volunteer, even to come and guard these particular learners the whole night, so that these learners must be able to see the seriousness, to say that my parents are here, just for my safety. It means that they are very serious about my education. It will definitely motivate them going forward.
All right. Mpo Esther Mamadi from our Facebook page is asking, drugs, vapes, and dacha are increasingly becoming a major problem in our schools. SAPS is also unable to deal with the issues if some of these bad substances are below a certain quantity. But dacha is dacha. It cannot be found inside the school premises. We cannot allow children to be in possession of vapes. Honorable MEC, what is the solution, and when is the Department of Education going to attend to this problem?
There's only one solution. The solution is participation of parents, because these are our learners, these are our children. The behavior is simula ko gae. We spend a little time le bana mo sekolo, but most of the time ba ko gae. So the parents di contribute yang in making sure gore bana ba rona ga batle ka matekwane ko dikolong. But as the MEC, we have collaborated with COSATMA, where we are having our search and seizure program, where in most instances we visit schools unannounced, where we are searching these particular learners. Indeed, I must indicate how it has made a serious impact. The last time we were in Miriti Secondary School, where we have discovered but after all, like I said, Rekaba search almost every day, but the parents' involvement also, it can contribute positively to these issues, sadi daga, dangerous weapons, skolong, and so on. We need each other. Me alone, I can't. But together, I strongly believe that we can curb this thing. We can reduce this thing. Every time there are learners caught, but in our school premises. By the way, we have also collaborated with some municipalities, whereby assist ka the EPWP beneficiaries, in most instances, and so on. But these kids are very brilliant. they know how to hide these things. You can search them. How it's all search at the same time, the very same keys we put our gating. So it's all about us as the department and the parents, not only parents, and also communities generally. We do have our CPFs. We are calling out our CPFs to come in and collaborate with us in making sure that they assist us in terms of dealing with this particular matter. Because she is right. Really, so se ke tlhoba boroko mo dikolong tsa rona.
I suppose it does speak to the complexity of, some of the challenges that schools in general have to deal with. And I think it also highlights the need for all role players to then come together to find a solution, as opposed to having just one organization or entity having to deal with these matters, MEC.
And to add on that, sorry to disrupt you. And the other question is that most of our communities, most of our parents, they are aware some of them, they are being protected by the very same community members, by the same parents. So I think we'll be able to succeed in making sure this thing
True indeed, MEC, and thank you once again for that. Sir Larona from our TikTok page is asking why districts such as Dr. Kenneth Kaunda and Bojanala always hosting government ceremonies, whilst Ngaka Mudiri Mulema is neglected, with management always saying there's a lack of infrastructure here in the district.
I disagree. I disagree with the comment. A practical example can be given. For example, during the 6th administration, our release of the results, Ngaka Mudiri Mulema hosted us. There was an event here. As I'm speaking to you, I've already announced, and the poster is out there to say that the last push, launch officially this coming Friday, it will be in Dr. RSM. So I'm trying my level best to balance all these particular districts and so on. So I'm not in agreement to say that forever we are in Dr. KK and we are forever in Bojanala. Hence, I've made this particular practical example. The issue of prayer session, it will be actually the host is Ngaka Mudiri Mulema. At one particular point, I was being accused to say that because I'm from Ngaka Mudiri Mulema, that is why I'm taking all these particular events to Ngaka Mudiri Mulema, which is not the case. Whatever that I'm doing, I'm trying my all best in making sure that I balance, because in a way I must interact with the communities of those particular areas. That is why it is very important for me of making sure that I give all the district all the equal opportunities like others.
All right. The next question is from Ayanda Tolbert from our Facebook page. And they're asking, or they're saying rather, we are writing this message regarding the program PYIE Phase 4. We are the former GAs and EAs of Mount Zibi Primary in Rustenburg under Bojanala. We are inquiring about our non-payment of July and August 2023. Since we have been communicating with Mr. Lebogo, he told us that the matter was handed over to the MEC. So we plead with the MEC to please look at this matter and the situation to be resolved in time.
Where I'm seated, I thought the issue of PYEI, which is your Presidential Youth Employment Initiative by the President, I thought it was resolved. We have identified a challenge in most of our schools where the principals recruited more beneficiaries than the expectation. Remember, this is a national program. The payments, everything, based on the number of the beneficiaries. So in most instances, the principals recruited more than the expected number. But I'm going to take note of the request. I'll definitely address it. I'll check how best can we engage with the person organizing that particular Facebook page to do verification if that is the case, to check how best can we address that particular issue as a matter of agency. Because that initiative was very clear and straightforward, was to empower these young people who are subjected to poverty, who are experiencing so many challenges. So the aim and objective was very clear, to empower them. If really they were recruited by the Department of Education, we must take responsibility and we must do what is right. So I'll do follow up, and I assure you, I'll definitely give you a report to say that how are we dealing with the issue, so that we have that particular information.
Okay. Cynthia Morodu from our Facebook page is asking any feedback on when we will receive our salaries. Since last year, November, not receiving a salary. I've been told that there's a case in the Premier's hand and it's almost a year now and still no solid answer. I'm not sure what they are specifically referring to here, MEC.
Okay. No, one must admit to say that there were AAs and GAs who were appointed last year. But because of the issues that the budget cuts, I've already indicated that we are actually we are being challenged regarding the issue of compensation of employees. But one must assure that indeed it is true. We have submitted all the documents to the provincial treasury so that they submit them to the Premier's office, as you know the protocols now. So we believe that our submission will definitely resolve this particular matter. We do have a consolidated list of all those who are affected, and the number tallies with those who are affected. So we'll definitely make sure that we speed up the process, even though it's not easy. Here we are talking about money. We have requested the provincial treasury to check how best can they assist us in making sure that those who are not yet paid, they are being paid their salaries. And let me take this opportunity also to apologize, because these people are breadwinners. And when they were appointed, they had expectations to say that their lives were going to be changed, not knowing that they are going to encounter this particular challenge. But most importantly, we are also going to improve in terms of communication. They deserve answers. There must be a continuous communication where they are being involved so that they know where we are and what are the issues, what is the reason behind the non-payments.
All right, now our final question from our social media feature, and it's from Ntsetsao Mukhatle, and it came through our Facebook page. They are asking, why are the QMS coordinators not placed as they went for interviews in 2022? Nothing is communicated. What a gesture from the Northwest Department of Education.
If they have not received the appointment letter, it goes back to the department, is that it means that those particular positions are not budgeted for now. Then we'll continue to engage with the treasury in terms of interventions in that regard. But the unfortunate part is that we can't appoint without confirming that we do have budget for those particular posts. I do admit that indeed there are many people who went for the interviews. Even now they have not received the appointment letter, because you can't issue out an appointment letter without having a budget for that particular post.
All right, MEC, now as we wrap up our interview, what are some of, those encouraging words or advice that you would want to give to anyone who wants to pursue the same career as you, or who wants to, be where you are today?
They must understand one thing, that the journey will never be easy. They must be well prepared for the challenges, and they must never ever give up. Because in life, one can make a practical example using me as a person. Looking where I come from, at one particular point, I was just a teacher, not knowing that today I'll be the MEC of Department of Education. But most importantly, commitment remains a factor. And once you are given an opportunity, make use of that particular opportunity and regard yourself as one of the luckiest. That is why you have to make use of that particular opportunity. Prove yourself. Make sure that whether boundaries are there or not, when I make sure that you maneuver, because first expression lasts. You will never know. There's going to be one person out there who will be able to identify, to say that this particular person has a capacity. And that particular person will be able to expose you to some opportunities. Rather than staying there, being demoralized, not doing anything, but obo olela or change. I still maintain you are your own determination. You are your own instrument in terms of where you want to go, in terms of future. Ke wena fela o ka kgonang go itira seo leng sone. Ga gona ope outside o ka tlang a go dira seo leng sone gompieno. So commitment, consistency, make use of that particular opportunity, because you'll never know tomorrow what does it hold for you. Maybe you are being tested. So make sure that each and every minute and each and every second counts, because you don't have time to waste. That is the only advices that I can give. I can give you the advice, but like I said, at the end, you are the only person who can determine your path, where you want to end. You are the only person nobody else, regardless of the challenges that you are confronted with. Everything is possible.
All right. As a last bite from yourself, MEC, how can people get a hold of you if they would want to see or talk to you as their public representative?
I do have a WhatsApp page, MEC Department of Education, where mostly I use it as part of interacting with community members out there. I do have a cell phone, premium tickets cell phone, so that as part of Tools of Trade, my numbers are on my Facebook page. They can access me at any given point. You've got my cell phone numbers. Feel free. When there are issues, people the cell numbers. I'm a public representative, meaning that they must access me at any given point. There are no boundaries. Remember what I said. You don't have to go through the PA. You don't have to go through the director in the office of the MEC to access me as the MEC. Because tomorrow, I won't be the MEC. Expectation is that I must be able to access you, Linda. So it is my time to prove myself to you, to say that on accessor at any given point. If you don't, maybe one phone there's a WhatsApp. Just drop me a WhatsApp. Before I sleep, I go through all my WhatsApp and I respond to each and every WhatsApp message that I received. So that's the only way that you can access me.
MEC Motsumi, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best in your journey of the 7th administration.
No, thank you very much. And let me also take this opportunity actually to thank you and the team for making this possible. Now I was able to interact with our Facebook supporters and our ordinary members through this particular podcast. And I would like to wish you good luck. The journey won't be that particular easy, but one must confirm that indeed you are making a huge impact in our lives as the MEC, not only us, especially the communities, because they are able to access us through this particular platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, MEC, for those parting words. Well, that is how we come to the end of yet another exciting episode. Catch us again in the next episode with another MEC, another game changer from myself, Lemogang, and the crew. See you next time.